All right, thank you very much. Welcome to the joint oversight hearing on 2016-17 Community Service Block Grant State Plan. I'd like to thank my fellow Assembly members and Senate members for joining us today, as well as the Department of Community Services and Development, other witnesses, and public. Federal law required that a public hearing be held in conjunction with the CSBG State Plan, as it is finalized for submission to the federal government. Federal law also requires a legislative hearing to be held every 3 years. By holding this biannual joint legislative hearing, both requirements are satisfied. Despite emerging from the Great Recession, California continued to face significant rate of overall poverty and child poverty. And the legislature continued to seek ways to assist its lowest income residents in achieving financial stability. I look forward to hearing from witnesses today about the Community Service Block Grant and the many ways it is used to serve the California's low-income residents by responding to locally defined need throughout the state. First of all, I would ask my co-chair, Senator McGuire, to make a brief comment. Thank you very much, Senator McGuire.
Well, good afternoon, and thank you so much, Assemblyman and Mr. Chair, for all of your work preparing today's hearing, and grateful to be here, and I apologize about being late.
Don't need to.
Our caucus ran late today, and again...
I already explained it to the public.
All right. So, again, I'm so sorry. So just want to be able to offer just a few words and then turn it right back over to the chairman. And, Assemblywoman, thank you so much for having me here today as well. And I think that we all know this, and despite the fact that our nation is emerging from the Great Recession, 4 in 10 Californians are still living in poverty. And in rural communities that have the honor to be able to represent, as well as in urban communities, that number can be far larger. When accounting for the cost of living, California has the highest poverty rate in the nation. And we have more kids living in poverty in California per capita than anywhere else in the United States. Nearly a quarter of all children in California did not have the resources to make ends meet in 2013. And I think that we can all agree, and I do appreciate the chairman, he's been a champion for this. We must do better. And while we know that our state's economy is improving and our most vulnerable are seeing some enhanced benefits, nearly a quarter of Californians remain in poverty, meaning that they earn less than $24,250 per year. And research has shown that safety net programs like CalWorks and CalFresh make some substantial impact on poverty in California, but we still have a lot of work in front of us. And it's because a lot of Californians can't qualify for those programs. And the Community Services Block Grant Program can help alleviate poverty for some people who otherwise don't qualify for state and federal aid, including single adults. And as we see, an unprecedented widening, a gulf, if you will, between those families who are successfully recovering from the effects of the recession and those who are still struggling. And I have to say, in the rural district I represent, from the Golden Gate Bridge to the Oregon border, we have among the highest poverty rates in the state and the poorest county in the state of California as well. As we proceed today, I hope that we're going to hear how local programs are leveraging funds to maximize their community reach, and also hoping to hear from the state how it focuses discretionary funding to assist in emergency situations, such as the drought, and how that assistance is different from other funding streams. And finally, Mr. Chair, I hope that we're going to be discussing, and I know the chair is all over this, so do greatly appreciate how the state is responsive to those that it serves. And again, Mr. Chair, thank you so much for all of the work. I will have to run to Transportation and Housing to take a vote, so if I get up, please don't take offense to that. And again, thank you for all your work and your amazing staff as well.
Thank you, Senator. And we do have Assembly Member Lopez here. Do you have any additional comment?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And of course, I look forward to learning more and details about the community service block and for the plan.
Microphone on. Is there a microphone on?
Oh, sorry. Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I look forward to learning more about that grants and to improve the community. Thank you so much for having me here.
All right. Thank you, Assembly members. So first of all, I'd like to call up our first two panelists. Mr. Leonard Stott, and Mr. John Heath. Please introduce yourself, and we'll get started.
Thank you, Assemblymember Chu, Senator McGuire, and members of the Human Services Committee. Thank you for the opportunity to provide an overview of our Community Services Block Grant, or CSBG, state plan, and share our efforts to maximize our federal resources to assist low-income Californians. I'm Lynn A. Stout, the Director of the Department of Community Services and Development. And the department's mission is to reduce poverty by leading the development and coordination of effective and innovative programs for low-income individuals and families across the state. The goal of all programs administered by CSD is to provide low-income Californians a pathway out of poverty towards self-reliance and improved well-being. CSBG helps us achieve this goal through not only providing some of the most basic services and immediate life necessities, but also providing services that help achieve self-sufficiency. CSBG is unique in that it's flexible and it's intended to meet the locally determined needs of each community. As a condition of funding, all CSBG agencies are required to undertake a local planning process that includes conducting community needs assessments and public forums, which are used to complete a local community action plan that's submitted to the department and is incorporated into our state plan. As part of their planning process, each agency is required to involve members of the community who are low income. In addition, there's a requirement that the board member it's a tripartite board that's composed of 1/3 low income, 1/3 private, and 1/3 public elected officials. In accordance with federal and state law, the department distributes 90% of the CSBG funding to local, nonprofit, and public agencies which cover all counties throughout the state. The three type of agencies and the percentages of the funding distributed is 76.1% to community action, 10% to the migrant and seasonal farm worker agencies, and 3.9% to Native American Indian organizations. These agencies provide a broad range of services and support to help reduce poverty in California communities, including assistance in the area of food and nutrition, job training, employment, education, income management, housing, emergency services, and other programs that assist low-income people. Many of our agencies also provide utility assistance for families who can't pay their energy bills and weatherization services to improve the energy efficiency of homes for eligible low-income households. Another unique and important element of CSBG is that it can be used to assist local communities for the revitalization of low-income areas and the reduction of poverty, and to help local service providers build capacity and develop links with other service providers through leveraging. CSD encourages innovative community and neighborhood-based initiatives that are developed through the local community action planning process, which in many cases includes local partnerships and important leveraging. I won't go into detail on all because some are included in your briefing documents, but I would like to highlight a few examples that I've had an opportunity to visit. The Truancy Prevention Program is operated by the Community Action Partnership of Sonoma County, and it was created with local partners to improve high school graduation rates and employment transition after graduation. With the CSBG funding, the program was able to support a full-time truancy prevention specialist position. The specialist works with both the students and parents to improve student attendance, prevent truancy, and provide support to students who drop out. During the school year 2013-14, this program helped 21 at-risk youth obtain high school diplomas and 20 middle school youth develop their education plans. Another example is the City of Oakland Department of Human Services, which contracts with St. Vincent de Paul's Kitchen of Champions Culinary Training Program, which is an intensive 12-week job training program for low-income individuals facing barriers to employment. The program provides participants with job search and placement support, as well as case management. In 2014, 71 trainees prepared 800 daily hot meals for St. Vincent de Paul's dining room and provided catering to other nonprofit. Graduates of the program have been successful in obtaining employment in local businesses in the area, such as Google, Brown Sugar Kitchen, local restaurants, and Berkeley and Oakland school districts. We are fortunate to have individuals here today who I know will share examples of their amazing work utilizing CSBG to address the needs living in their communities. In accordance with federal statute, 5% of California's CSPG funds are used for discretionary purposes. The department uses discretionary funds to support limited purpose agencies, provide training and technical assistance, and to fund targeted initiatives. In the area of targeted initiatives, the department conducts surveys and identifies statewide needs to develop funding opportunities for agencies to submit proposals. For example, this year we funded 17 agencies to provide programs that are intended to reduce childhood poverty by providing low-income families with multiple pathways to achieve financial stability and increase access to education, training programs, and high-quality childhood education. Facilitated youth training programs facilitated youth employment, including employment for disabled youth. And we also had homeless services, including services to homeless vets. And of course, due to the severity of the drought, which has dramatically affected agriculture and disproportionately affected low-income individuals, we use discretionary funds to provide services related to drought relief. The Drought Assistance Program provides funds to migrant and seasonal farm worker agencies to provide employment training and placement services to individuals who have lost employment. The Drought Water Assistance Program, which is actually a pilot program, provides funding that helps drought-impacted low-income households with their residential water utility bill to prevent disruption in vital water services, and also promotes water conservation. And another important area in which we've used discretionary funds and worked closely with our CSPG network is to increase opportunities for low-income working families to take advantage of the Earned Income Tax Credit, or EITC, which is one of the most effective ways to help people out of poverty. Using discretionary funding, we provided opportunities for local agencies to create new or expand existing volunteer income tax assistance sites. In an effort to bring awareness to the benefits of EITC, we sponsored statewide public service announcements, and during the 2014 tax season, we saw more CSPG agencies offer free tax preparation services. In tax year 2013, 47,000 participants received tax preparation services. In tax year 2014, it was over 65,000, which in aggregate resulted in more than $154 million claimed. You can imagine the positive impact this had on these individuals and families, not to mention the multiplying effect this had on the economy here in California. In an effort to further increase the number of EITC claims, the department created a poverty reduction work group of state agencies and stakeholders to identify resources and to develop strategies to increase awareness through targeted outreach and public service announcements. And now, with the addition of the state EITC, we hope to be able to have an even greater impact on those living in poverty. Critical to our success is productive partnership. CSD works in partnership with the CSPG network on coordinating statewide efforts to reduce poverty. We hold quarterly meetings to discuss policies, share information, and highlight best practices. It's also important that we focus our collective efforts to ensure effective accountability and transparency at the federal, state, and local level. Since the previous state plan was submitted on September 1st, 2013, there have been significant changes to the administration of CSPG. The Federal Office of Community Services, under the Department of Health and Human Services, has invested in the development of performance management framework for states and local agencies, which includes national organizational standards and performance management protocols. The department has worked very closely and has been very involved in all aspects. The purpose of the organizational standards is to ensure that all agencies have appropriate organizational capacity, not only in the critical financial administrative areas important to all nonprofit and public human service agencies, but also serve as capacity building tool to help agencies provide comprehensive and coordinated anti-poverty services. The new state and federal accountability measures are currently in draft. These proposed measures are intended to ensure that both the state and federal administrators are accountable to high standards of performance management. It is the expectation of OCF that the state and federal accountability measures will be implemented alongside the new organizational standards. The Federal CSPG Act requires that states participate in a federally approved performance management system known as Results-Oriented Management and Accountability System, or ROMA. All states must also annually submit to HHS a report on the measured performance of CSPG. The department, along with a select group of leaders within the CSPG network, is participating on CSPG ROMA Next Generation. The CSBG network is incredibly adaptable, which is only further proven by the successful leveraging and many strategic partnerships that take place each year. It's hard to predict the future, but I believe that with many of the items identified in my remarks, we will ensure that California continues to have the strong leadership and partnerships needed to weather any changes. Again, thank you for this opportunity to present the CSBG state plan. We appreciate your support, and I would be happy to respond to any questions.
Great. Thank you very much, Director Stahl. Any questions from the members?
I have a question, but I can wait if you like me to. How would you like to?
No. Okay. What are we doing now?
Thank you so much. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Madam Director, thank you so much. I just want to get a better understanding when there may be additional dollars that are not spent or at the end of the year. Can you talk about how you're able to use those, I'm going to call them discretionary dollars, and how that investment works? Do they go to agencies that have already received funding? Do they go into initiatives like you had just mentioned, for example, the issues of drought, poverty reduction, et cetera? Can you go into that a little bit and just better understanding of that formula?
So for the CSBG funding, which is about $60 million a year, any dollars that are unexpended at the end of the contract period, which really there typically isn't, but the federal law requires that those dollars are retained by the agency that they were originally obligated for. So with this particular block grant program, we don't have any, at all, left over. But with our and then with our discretionary dollars, up to the 5% we use for the purposes of the initiatives and that type. But we have 2 years to fully expend the community services block grant funding. So it typically, all of the agencies fully expend on those contracts and for the purposes of those funds.
And so I'm just going to walk it down here just one more time. So if you do have an agency that does not spend their full amount, and I'm sure that does not happen often because dollars are so short, those dollars are then returned back to the feds, if you will, particularly on the $60 million. Or if you're getting close to a calendar year, we don't see those are spent, can those be reinvestment in additional agencies?
Those are retained with those agencies. So
there is an ability to be able to carry over?
Yes, but they can't be carried over to any other agency. They stay with that agency. But we make sure that we don't return federal funds. That's our primary, yeah.
And then I'm just going to, and I appreciate your patience, and just going to go down one more time, making sure I'm understanding. So on those discretionary dollars, let's say that there are groups that may not otherwise, I'm going to go down the road of drought, for example, that may not otherwise be a typical partner agency, if you will, outside of the scope. So, for example, outside of CAP and how that's distributed. Ability to be able to go after those discretionary dollars for those agencies?
They're for the CSBG eligible entities. So within our network of agencies, we have funding proposal opportunities for targeted initiatives. So we open that up to the network of agencies that we participate with, yes.